Ultimately, a transparent process like the one we are undergoing today strengthens accountability and trust in our government. Mrs. Goodtrufant, I look forward to hearing from you today and our exchange regarding your record, your qualifications, and experiences in consideration of your nomination as Corporation Counsel. Thank you very much, and I turn it back over to the hands of our chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before we go ahead, I want to summarize the powers and the duties of the Corporation Counsel before introducing the candidate. Pursuant to Sections 31 and 391 of the New York City Charter, and by letter dated October 25th, 2024, Mayor Eric Adams requested the Council's advice and consent in relation to his nomination of Muriel Goodtrufant for appointment to be the Corporation Counsel. The New York City Charter designates the Corporation Counsel as the attorney and counsel for the City of New York and all city agencies. Corporation Counsel, and by extension the Law Department, is granted the power to conduct all the legal business of the city. Further, Corporation Counsel has the right to bring or defend any legal action in local, state, or federal courts. The Law Department is comprised of approximately 850 attorneys who specialize in all the areas of law necessary to conduct the legal business of the city. The Law Department includes specialists in a wide range of fields of litigation, land use, ethics, professional responsibility, contracts, administrative law, juvenile delinquency, and legislative interpretation, just to name a few. They represent the city, elected officials, and city agencies with all legal issues that they may confront. If the Council gives its advice and consent, Ms. Goodtrufant will be appointed Corporation Counsel and serve an indefinite term at a salary of $250,000. Again, congratulations on your nomination. Thank you for being here today. Ms. Goodtrufant has been serving as an acting Corporation Counsel since the resignation of her predecessor in June. She has served the Law Department for nearly 4 years, and thank you for your service to the city. Prior to joining the Law Department, she was a litigation associate in private practice for 5 years. She's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania and received her law degree from Temple University School of Law. Before we begin, I want to ask the Council to administer the affirmation.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and an answer to all council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. And I'm going to recognize you now to make an alternate statement, and then we'll follow with questions.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, Chair Powers, and members of the committee. I thank you for holding this hearing and for considering my nomination to serve as the 82nd Corporation Counsel. I would also like to express my gratitude to the administration for this nomination. I have long believed that public service is a noble calling, and I have lived out that belief through my 33 years at the New York City Law Department. In that time, I have served as an assistant corporation counsel, a deputy assistant chief, an assistant chief, a deputy division chief, a division chief, equal employment opportunity officer, MWBE officer, managing attorney, first assistant corporation counsel, and since June 2nd of this year, the acting corporation counsel. I have worked directly or indirectly with all of our 24 divisions and with most of the various city offices and agencies in fulfilling the Law Department's mission to provide legal representation to the City of New York in the tradition of excellence and dedication in the furtherance of the operation of its government. As both first assistant and more recently as acting corporation counsel, I am familiar with the pressing legal matters and challenges facing the city, which makes me uniquely qualified to seamlessly assume this role should I be confirmed. The Law Department has approximately 70,000 active matters, excluding our extensive legislative and counseling work. Our portion of the judgment and claims payouts in FY24 totaled nearly $1 billion. Our Municipal Finance Division handled $20.4 billion in bond transactions in FY24 and has already completed more than $12 billion in bond transactions in FY25. Our tax and bankruptcy division protected more than $4 billion in city tax receipts in FY24. Our environmental law division handles a wide array of environmental issues, including the protection of the city's upstate drinking water supply, the largest in the nation. These are just a few samplings of the important work done by the Law Department. I am immensely proud of the Law Department, both its employees and its work. It is because of this work that I desire to become the 82nd Corporation Counsel. I spoke earlier of the Law Department's mission. I now cite our vision to be the finest public law office providing the highest quality representation. An organization vision is necessarily forward-thinking. Meeting and sustaining the Law Department's vision takes continuous dedication and effort. We must train new staff in municipal law. We must equip existing staff so that they can grow into new roles, taking on greater responsibilities. And we must support all staff when they face challenges and obstacles, because no matter how hard or difficult things get, we can accomplish much if we do it together. There remains much work to be done. The Law Department's clients are all of the elected officials of the City of New York, the city's agencies and entities, and at times, individual city employees. Our efforts enable the day-to-day functioning of this municipal corporation. I have had the privilege of serving under 9 former corporation councils. Despite any and all difficulties that may have existed during their tenures, each would share that being the corporation counsel is one of the best legal positions there is because of the breadth of the legal issues handled by the Law Department. It would be an honor of a lifetime to serve as the 82nd Corporation Counsel. I am committed to working tirelessly on behalf of the city and its residents as we look to continue to build upon the legacy of the Law Department. I thank you again for your time and your consideration, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you. I also want to recognize we've been joined by Councilmember Borelli and Councilmember Brewer, I believe is here too. And before we begin our questions, I just want to reiterate what I said at our last hearing on a nominee for this position as well, which is the hearing of today's hearing is not to determine whether you're a competent attorney. Of course, that is part of it. It's also but we all know you're an accomplished and competent litigator and a dedicated public servant. But this is really an opportunity to hear from the nominees so we can determine whether the nominee has demonstrated the commitment to advancing justice, deserving the public trust, to represent the entirety of the New York City as the head of the Law Department. We want to make sure the Corporation Counsel has a faith and trust of officials throughout our government, including the Council, the hundreds of attorneys, staff of the Law Department, the diverse people of New York City, that they will represent the public interest of all New Yorkers and prioritize the pursuit of justice over politics. And of course, today's hearing allows us to transparently make that assessment. As chair, I'm going to recognize council members to address the nominee, to make statements and ask questions, starting with members of this committee and followed by other council members. We'll give flexibility, as we often do, for members on the first round of questioning, but if there's a second round, we'll ask members to, we'll put them on a time limit. I want to start by recognizing Speaker Adrienne Adams to ask the first round of questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Welcome again. It's wonderful to see you. The Law Department attorneys frequently represent the council in litigation. Law Department attorneys also often represent that they're providing legal advice to the council during the bill drafting process. In both instances, the Law Department comes into possession of sensitive information that may harm the council's interests if publicly disclosed or if used against the council in a court proceeding. Do law department attorneys have an ethical obligation to maintain attorney-client privilege and confidentiality with respect to information they receive from the counsel in the course of providing legal advice to the counsel?
Absolutely, and we treat those consultations on a separate line of confidentiality from other clients.
Thank you. What obligation, if any, do law department attorneys have during the bill drafting process to disclose whether they're representing the counsel or the administration during the bill drafting process?
It would depend on the particular bill. With most bills, there is an overall process where we understand that there is fluid information flowing amongst the parties for the good of the city. However, if there is a situation where there are particular concerns or on one side or the other, we would erect an ethical wall to make certain that we were giving advice that was not disclosed to another entity.
I see. Okay. Will you commit that the law department will not use any document or information received from the counsel in the course of representing or advising the counsel in any proceeding adverse to the counsel?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Will you further commit that you will not disclose any such information to any third party, including any other client, without the express consent of the counsel unless directed by a court of law?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mrs. Goodrufant, during our August hearing on the nomination of Randy Mastro for the role of Corporation Counsel, Mr. Mastro opined that if the mayor believes a duly enacted local law is unlawful, he should ask the law department to seek judicial intervention before the effective date of such law. Do you agree that in the absence of such judicial intervention by the mayor, the mayor has an obligation to enforce the laws of the city?
Any analysis of this question must be done on a case-by-case basis. For example, a court would likely reject a case brought before the actual enactment of a law because the issue would not yet be ripe for judicial review at that point. There also may be other considerations, such as superseding federal or state law. Therefore, it is important to evaluate each circumstance on the facts presented at the time.
Okay, but the question was, I'm going to ask it again. Mr. Mastro opined that if the mayor believes a duly enacted law, local law, is unlawful, he should ask the law department to seek judicial intervention before the effective date of such law. And the question was, do you agree?
I do not agree.
Okay, thank you. Will you commit that as Corporation Counsel, if you agree with the mayor that a proposed local law adopted by the council is unlawful, and he decides to veto such proposed local law, that you will advise the mayor to state all legal infirmities in writing in the statement of objections he is required to submit to the council pursuant to Section 37 of the Charter?
Yes.
Thank you. In your pre-hearing questions, you were asked if you would only instruct the department to take legal action to challenge the validity of a local law after coming to a determination that such invalidity could be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. You responded, and I quote, "To my knowledge, the standard for validity or invalidity of a local law is not the, quote, beyond a reasonable doubt standard that applies in criminal prosecutions," unquote. I want to call your attention to a couple of cases on this particular matter. Are you aware of litigation against the city challenging the enactment of a local law that would allow non-citizens to vote in local elections?
Yes, the law department is representing the council in such litigation.
And are you aware that the law department, which you just stated, appealed that case to the second department?
Yes.
Okay. In that appeal, your predecessor, Judge Sylvia Hines-Radix, submitted an appellate brief on behalf of the council and the mayor, which cited Moran Towing Corp. versus Urbach for the proposition that the New York State Court of Appeals requires that plaintiffs, quote, plaintiffs bear the heavy burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the law suffers, quote, wholesale constitutional impairment, unquote. Are you aware that during your tenure as acting corporation counsel, in connection with the same case, you authorized the submission of a brief to the New York State Court of Appeals on behalf of the council?
Yes.
Okay. In that brief, the law department argued that the Court of Appeals requires the plaintiff to establish that, quote, it is impossible to reconcile the local law and the state constitution, and that where reasonable doubt exists, the local law must be upheld, unquote. Given the presumptive validity of local laws, if asked by the mayor to challenge the validity of a duly enacted local law as unconstitutional, would you only agree to do so after coming to a determination that the department could prove such local law is unconstitutional beyond a reasonable doubt? Or would you allow the department to pursue more speculative litigation to advance the mayor's policy objectives?
Given the tenor of the question, I would go with the former, beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you.
I feel like there's one in column A and one in column B, and picking door number 1 or door number 2, but I like your answer. Okay. In the court of litigation, the law department has previously demanded that the council agree to stays of enforcement of local laws that the mayor opposed. Will you commit to not requesting the council agree to a stay of enforcement in the absence of a court order?
In that particular instance, we were faced with prospect of contempt versus the enactment of a duly enacted local law. And so we were in an extremely, and we continue to be in an extremely difficult, almost no-win situation.
Are those situations common or are they uncommon?
Extremely infrequent.
Pursuant to Section 24 of the New York State Executive Law, the mayor may issue an emergency executive order to suspend a local law. Do you believe the use of this power must be rare, narrowly tailored, limited in time span, and that such power should never be used when the disaster in question could be resolved using the day-to-day tools of city government, i.e. rulemaking or legislation?
State law requires that when the mayor exercises emergency authority to suspend a law or regulation, the suspension must meet a number of conditions. 1, the suspension must safeguard the health and welfare of the public. 2, it must be reasonably necessary. And 3, the suspension should provide for the minimum deviation from the law or rule deemed necessary. State law also provides that emergency suspensions must expire after 5 days unless they are renewed based on the relevant facts and circumstances. Rulemaking and legislation can also address the impact of an emergency or be instrumental in preparing for an emergency. But when an emergency occurs, there will often be a need for an immediate response that doesn't allow for the usual legislative or rulemaking processes. That said, all parts of the city government working together have succeeded in getting us through severe weather disasters, 9/11, the devastating pandemic, and other emergencies. I take seriously our role in advising all our clients about the tools our state laws provide for emergency response.
In your estimation, in the past, let's say 6 months, have the executive orders that are issued, do they follow those requirements that you just stated?
Yes.
Is it your estimation then that the mayor should usurp legislative powers during emergencies?
It depends on what type of emergencies and what the emergency requires.
Okay, that goes back to my former question then. So in your estimation, do you feel that executive powers that were used, executive orders that were used in the past 6 months follow those requirements and that the mayor has not usurped legislative powers?
I think that the emergency orders issued within the past 6 months were necessary under the state law requirements.
Okay, I'm going to move on. During the Giuliani administration, the mayor decided the city could cut off funding to the Brooklyn Museum because of the mayor's objections to what the museum was exhibiting. The general counsels representing the council, the public advocate, the comptroller, and the borough presidents all opposed the mayor stating their common opinion that doing so would be a violation of the First Amendment. Notwithstanding the objections of the attorneys representing all the other divisions of city government, the Corporation Council argued on behalf of the mayor's position in court. The court ruled that defunding the museum was a clear violation of the First Amendment and ordered that funding be restored. In your pre-hearing questions, you were asked your opinion of how the Corporation Counsel, then Michael Hess, handled that matter. You responded that he did what he thought was best at the time. By your written answer, are you saying that you believe there was a legal basis for the mayor refusing to fund a museum based on his opinion of the exhibits inside?
I was not saying that. I was acknowledging that the former Corporation Counsel, Michael Hess, found himself in a challenging situation, which is, I think, the case for every Corporation Counsel. And he did what in his estimation was best at the time.
Did you work on that case in behalf of the mayor?
I did not.
Okay. If Mayor Adams decided to withhold funding from an organization based on his opposition to the political opinions of its executive director and all the top lawyers from all the other non-mayoral entities that make up city government raised First Amendment concerns, would you defend the mayor's decision?
Likely not.
Why not?
We are in a different time than the situation from the late 90s in the Brooklyn Museum, and I think that the Corporation Counsel's obligation is to make certain that we are serving justice and following the rule of law. And so I would support the First Amendment in that situation.
Thank you. During the hearing on the mayor's nomination of Randy Mastro to be Corporation Counsel, he testified, he being Mr. Mastro, testified that the reason he left city employment to represent corporate interests against the city and its residents was because even though he was one of the highest paid city employees, he was too broke to support his family. You, Ms. Goodtrufant, are a 34-year veteran of the law department. Why didn't you ever leave city employment to make more money elsewhere?
Opportunities have presented themselves unsolicited, but there is no finer work, I believe, than at the law department. I have had the benefit of extraordinary colleagues, of fascinating work, and the opportunity to continue to grow and to pour into others. And so there are some who choose money, and there's some who choose fulfillment, and I have been quite fulfilled at the law department.
Thank you. The Daily News has repeatedly characterized this committee as a kangaroo court based on the hearing we held on Mr. Mastro's nomination for Corporation Counsel. The term kangaroo court refers to a show trial staged to justify extra-legal lynchings, executions, and to impose life sentences of hard labor. Do you agree with the Daily News's characterization of this committee and the council?
I certainly would not say such a thing about the council, and I was away in another time zone during the hearing, so I did not have the opportunity to watch it.
Oh, too bad. You missed a really, really... I won't go anywhere further than just the too bad. Do you believe that any appointee subject to the advice and consent process, by accepting the nomination voluntarily, submits themselves to the opinions of this body and whatever statements and questions members deem relevant about the nominee's work history, values, and credibility?
Yes.
Ms. Goodtrufant, thus far, do you believe you've been treated fairly during this process and during today's hearing?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I have a long list of questions, but I'm actually going to let members go, and then I'll come back at the end. So our first three, we have Councilmembers Farias, Ayala, and Hudson. I'm going to give them an opportunity. No. Councilmember Hudson?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to my council member.
I'm happy to have a constituent up for such a prestigious role. This administration has a reputation of ousting those who don't play by their rules or bend the rules, and there's a reported pattern of pushing out Black women with integrity who stand their ground. I would classify you as one such woman, so my questions for you are: one, how do you plan to insulate yourself from these pressures? And two, perhaps most importantly, how do you plan to manage yourself in an extremely high-demanding job with pressures coming from many different directions and where maintaining your integrity and convictions is paramount?
I think the last part of your question is the key to the answer. I must stay grounded in my personal integrity at all times. And so my path towards making sure that that happens is to build up the law department team and to make sure that we are all clear about what our mission is, and that is to do the best for the city as a whole. That's what is in the charter, and we have to make sure that we do it so that in 2030, 2040, the path that we have laid make certain that those following after us can indeed continue to serve this city in a fine fashion.
If you were forced to resign because you refused to do something that you didn't think was the right thing to do, how would you approach that situation?
I think with grace. Candidly, I have been with the city for 30 plus years. I'm tier 4, and so I'm going to be all right. What I want to make sure is that the law department is all right. And so what I will do from the day I am confirmed for as long as I am privileged to serve is to build up the department so that they can face whatever challenges come their way.
Great. Thank you so much. I will say, as your representative, I'm proud to have you up for this role. I'm excited for the opportunity to have you confirmed, assuming all goes well. But I think it's really, really important, and it can't be made clear enough how important this role is in holding up the entirety of this city, advocating on behalf of all New Yorkers, and maintaining the role with the utmost integrity. So thank you for your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Brooks Powers, followed by Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you, and thank you for your testimony. It was a pleasure meeting with you yesterday in advance of today's hearing. I wanted to understand when there's a potential conflict, and I know the speaker touched on this a little bit, and I wanted to touch on it as well, but when there's a potential conflict or difference of opinion on a legal matter between the mayor and the council, how would you approach the situation as the corporation council? And I'm also curious on your perspective on the mayor's last-minute intervention this past year in the Charter Revision Commission.
I'm going to take those as two questions.
Separate, yeah,
Yes?
the two questions.
Yes, yes. The first is that if there is a difference of opinion between the two, we would continuously communicate with both parties, seeking as best we could to find a resolution. If no resolution can be had, we have and will afford alternate counsel, as we have done in certain circumstances for city council. You separately asked about the Charter Commission, but I missed a couple of words. I apologize.
Sorry, I apologize for my beautiful raspy voice today. But what is your perspective on the mayor's last-minute intervention this past year in the Charter Revision Commission?
State law permits the mayor to have charter revision commissions in that manner. And so whether one is in favor of the particular move or not, the state law permits it currently. So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back to Councilmember Farias, Councilmember Ayala, and then we'll do Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you for being here. Just to follow up on the question about the mayor declaring states of emergencies to stop enforcement of local laws during the emergency, the mayor only declared a state of emergency to stay enforcement of a ban on solitary confinement after we passed our local law. So is that proper use of the emergency authority, and in your opinion, and was the emergency threatened at all during bill negotiation?
The situation was clear during bill negotiations. The challenge in that particular circumstance is that everything that is included there is also the subject of longstanding litigation, and there are difficulties that the city faces in that litigation. Separately, there are instances where our supervision by the court would have been impacted by the full-throttled enactment of that particular local law, and so we had very immediate challenges that we had to face. It was an extraordinarily difficult situation which persists.
Okay, so are you stating that you do believe it was proper use?
It was an extraordinarily difficult situation, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is it still morning? Good morning. Lose track of time around here. I don't have a question per se, but we had an opportunity to have a conversation, and we've read your bio. Definitely, really impressed and really excited to see a woman sitting before us, a woman of color with many, many years of experience, quite capable of doing this job. And I just wanted to reiterate, something that I mentioned in our conversation, that experience is important, education is important, but so is having a good moral compass. And for that, that is important to us as a body. Somebody is going to make sound judgment based on the law. Obviously, we don't want anyone neglecting that. But I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to see you here, and happy to get to know each other a little bit better. And I wish you all of the luck in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Brewer, and followed by Councilmember Ariola.
Thank you very much, and it was nice to talk to you via Zoom a while ago. I have a few questions. First of all, when I was borough president, I did sue the mayor at that time against the issue of the override, what we call the mayoral zoning overrides. And that was a situation, in my case, at Holmes. In the end, the developer dropped the project, so it wasn't carried out. But I wanted to know your position on the use of mayoral zoning overrides.
I believe it really depends on the situation. From the overrides that I have seen, they have primarily been for schools or public housing. I have not seen any overrides for purposes other than those. I can't speak personally to the situation in which you were a litigant, but I think that if properly used in order to make certain that we have sufficient seats in a school or that we're able to provide better services in public housing, it can be very appropriate.
Okay, my situation was zoning, trying to override what we felt was a ULURP that was necessary, and obviously the mayor did not. So ULURP, I think, I would say please do not use that as an override. That would be my suggestion. Carter cases, and again, I know this is a, 30-year discussion. I'm tier 2, by the way. I just want to let you know.
Congratulations.
So, I just missed tier 1. Just missed it. So the young people don't know what we're talking about, just so you know. The Carter cases, what is your take on how they could be addressed, if at all? We're spending a lot of money, DOE's working, et cetera. Do you have any comment on Carter cases?
It is a very big challenge, and there needs to be a range of resources, and not simply monetary, strategic and human resources brought to bear in order to solve that particular problem. It has unfortunately grown, and because it's a problem at one of our clients, it is also a problem for the law department.
Okay, so you're going to address it in some way or try to address it?
We have been working with the Department of Education on it.
With Liz Vladeck. Okay.
Yes.
What would you do? We have a situation, I'm very supportive of the sheriff, and obviously I want to get rid of the unlicensed cannabis, but there is a situation where the oath lawyer indicates that there's been a problem with that particular case and that particular individual establishment, and that hasn't been perhaps correctly written down. So in that case, oath says establishment can stay open because of whatever reason, and the sheriff has been overriding that, saying, it's got to close. Now, I do want them closed, but I also want to follow the law. So I'm just wondering, what's your position on that issue? Is it okay, the statute as it is, or should we be changing that statute?
I think that the statute is fine. We started this process, as you know, in the spring. We continue to work with all of the component pieces to make certain that we smooth out any rough patches and make certain that due process is followed when enacting closures, inspections, et cetera.
Okay, so I guess, so oath will say X, and then the sheriff will do Y, but you still think that's okay at this moment?
It would really be fact-specific based on what is in the record.
Okay. But there's a whole issue, as you know, about should the public have access to records that reveal when and what the city did during the 9/11 and the toxins. That's been in the paper a lot. Do you have a position on that, whether we should be releasing that information to the public? 9/11 toxins records.
To the extent that it is possible, yes. Yes.
Okay, because the mayor has not released them yet, as you know.
Yes, it is unfortunately very complicated
Like everything
circumstance.
else, yes.
Yes.
But
yes.
so you're saying that that's still being discussed about releasing those records?
It's not a matter of finding a box and saying,
No, I know.
here's the information.
No, I know.
My understanding is that it is a database that has particular needs in order to be ready, in order to be released.
Okay. In terms of the police cases, many, I think you and I discussed this. Do you have some ideas about how we obviously want to have as little money spent on the city's dollars for those that are suing the city and so on? So do you have some ideas about how those cases could be reduced, or is it training, or is it law department, or what can we do both to be secure for the police department, but at the same time have some officers that are not ending up in your bailiwick, so to speak?
We continue to work with the police department on a variety of topics, including on training. It is an ongoing practice. Training is not a one and done. Issues evolve, training has to evolve, and we have to continue to work at it.
So you think in your leadership you could perhaps bring down some of those cases or work towards that?
That is always the goal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We're joined by Councilmember Ressler, and we're going to go to Councilmember Ariola, followed by Councilmember Ressler.
Thank you for coming today,
Thank you, Council Member.
and congratulations on being put forth. I'd like to talk about some inequities that I have found with the law department, especially in cases regarding the de Blasio administration's mandates, the vaccine mandates in particular. This is a mandate that has now been deemed arbitrary and capricious by judges across the city and the state, but thousands of our city workers are still not back at their jobs. Some were terminated, some retired, and others were left their jobs because of not wanting to take the vaccine for religious and medical reasons. And you said in your testimony, which made me very hopeful, that you are here to follow the rule of law and civil rights of people. Yet, time after time, these people who work for our city have won their cases, won their Article 78s, and yet the city continues to appeal these cases and spending taxpayer dollars to appeal cases that they're losing. Now, once these cases are lost, some members are being allowed to come back to work and others are not, and yet they're similarly situated. When they win their Article 78, they're not allowed to come back, yet others do, and no reasons are given. And we've been in touch with the law department about this, and I know that you've been there. So I'm hoping that you could say to me and make a commitment to me that under your leadership, that there would be equity, that there would not be some members who are similarly situated, won their Article 78s to come back to work by a judge lawfully who followed the rule of law, would be able to come back to work. There's also waivers that some employees were made to sign and others not. So what I'm asking you is that under your leadership, will there be more equity and protection of civil rights for every single civil servant that works for the city of New York?
Is the question concerning vaccines mandate in particular or in general?
This is for the vaccine mandate in particular, because this is where we seem to have the stumbling block. We have Article 78s that have been won. People have been ordered back to work, and yet the city is appealing it. Either there's a stay, or they've lost the appeals. Taxpayer dollars are being spent. It's unfair. It's unfair to the people who are now living in shelters, living in their cars, living with family just by charity. And meanwhile, courts, judges have ordered that they come back to work. A mandate that was now called arbitrary and capricious and now ineffective by the former Department of Health doctor and the most current. And we've been fighting for so many of them to come back to work, and many have. Yet others that are similarly situated are being turned down. Why is that?
We have in fact, pursued some cases to the Court of Appeals. We recently won a case concerning teachers. There is another pending case in the Court of Appeals. Because the circumstances shifted from time to time during the pandemic, there are different classifications of employees. Some who did not follow initial orders, some who did not work with the reasonable accommodation process. It is not one size fit all, because the circumstances of the individual employee does matter in evaluating their situation. But what is important is to make certain that should the city have another crisis, pandemic like we had with COVID, that we are able to keep the public as a whole safe.
That is true, and they would still be required to adhere to that mandate if it were so brought back. But the problem here is that the law department does not have a consistent policy when it comes to these particular people. We have had 16 sanitation workers that won their case, and yet the city law department appeals it, and then you hire outside counsel in Hines Radix and pay them, hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are taxpayer dollars that we're supposed to be saving. So I would like to know that under your leadership that you would take more of a look at this and bring equity. And I can send you, and I would like to, and I will send you dozens of cases that are exactly situated to the ones that you brought back to work, yet others are still waiting to hear and are unemployed. And when I say that they are living in cars and in shelters and rely on the charity of family, I'm not making that up and I'm not exaggerating it. But we need to see more equity. And we've been really leading the charge on this, but each time we try, we hit a stumbling block. I'm hoping that if you should make it through, that you will look at these cases and you'll see that, and I'm going to send them to you, because you'll see that they are exactly situated the same. And there shouldn't be any inequity for all of them to come back, especially when the mandate was lifted. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member.
We'll now go to Councilmember Lincoln Ressler.
Thank you so much, Chair Powers, Speaker Adams, and Madam Corp Counsel. Congrats on the appointment, and I look forward to supporting your nomination. I enjoyed learning when we had a chance to chat last week that credit to your tenure at the law department goes to the parishioners at Emmanuel Baptist Church for bringing you to Brooklyn. And so I'm glad that after 30 years of distinguished service at the law department, you'll be taking on this top role. I had a couple questions I wanted to just ask about. I'm deeply concerned about the staffing in the law department. Since the pre-pandemic levels, when we had well over 900 attorneys, I think that what was reported in the budget hearings to us earlier this year was we were down, I believe, 765. So we had seen nearly approximately a 20% reduction in headcount of attorneys at the law department. And when the law department shrinks, it slows down everything in city government, and agencies can't do their jobs. And so, could you just give us an update? Where are we currently on staffing levels? And from your vantage point, what is the necessary staffing level for attorneys at the law department for law to be able to function at the level that you think appropriate?
Your estimate is about right. We continue to work with the Office of Management and Budget on our needs, and we're hopeful that in future cycles we'll be able to supplement our staff.
Okay. Look, we do our best in this council under the Speaker's leadership to fight for our city agencies. As Chair of GovOps, I look forward to working with you to advocate for the law department to have the resources that are needed. I think this is a big problem, and I think we need to work on it together. So I look forward to to hopefully having some success with you there. I'd also like to ask you about juvenile justice. My understanding is the law department for the last few years under Mayor Adams has referred about a third of cases for prosecution. And I think 31% is the data we saw in the MMR, pretty consistent over the last few years. What can we do to increase diversions? And I really am focused on this because, as you know, as this council knows well, we've just about doubled the number of kids in jail while Mayor Adams is in office. I just want to say that again. Since Mayor Adams came into office, we have nearly doubled the number of minors who were sent away to juvenile justice facilities, sent away to jail. So we are way over capacity in the jails. It's a horrible experience for young people, and we want to divert and prevent those experiences whenever possible. So is there anything that you're looking at? I know law is just one piece of the puzzle here, but it's something that I think is really important, and you do have a role to play. Any guidance or insight or recommendations that you could offer for how we could try and improve that situation?
We continue to have multiple concerns. There are some juveniles who are no strangers to the city as a whole because they may have been previously encountered through ACS. So we have to provide support for families generally. We need greater programming in communities to give children opportunities to spend their time constructively.
Are there, I know that you all track the diversion rates as well. How can we increase those diversion rates? What do you think are the opportunities? What should we be focused on as the council and law department together to try and increase the diversions and prevent fewer kids from going into juvenile detention?
While we track diversions, the actual diversion is done by entities, not the law department, but making sure that there are sufficient opportunities to use to divert children to. That would be the most helpful.
And then last topic I just was hoping to ask on, something you know that I'm passionate about, is affirmative impact litigation at the law department. And this is something that, you know, under Corp Counsel Carter and Stana and the judge, we've seen continued and expanded. Would this be a priority of yours? I'm particularly interested in environmental issues, housing issues, and, you know, the law department should be, it's not anymore, the largest law firm in the city that's like operating for the public good, fighting the good fight, taking on bad actors. Could you just lay out your vision for us a little bit on that as well?
We are very proud of our affirmative work. Much of it is done by Affirmative Litigation Division, but not all of it. We have an environmental law division, and we have many partners throughout the department in the various divisions that are fighting with respect to various initiatives that we would like to either protect or push forward. We announced just recently a new vape case. It was not the first, but we are suing a distributor of candy-flavored vapes, which is designed to attract children and get them addicted to nicotine. That's not the only issue. There are many things that we are exploring, such as immigration at present, and we'll continue to look at more ways that we can do justice throughout the city.
You know, we're going to have some challenging years ahead with the incoming president, and I think the strong working relationship between this city council and the law department is going to be more important than ever. And, you know, look forward to you being a strong partner for us, and look forward to the law department providing independent guidance to this city council so that we can do the best job possible advocating for vulnerable New Yorkers. And I think that you bring a commitment to independence to the role, and that's part of the reason that I'm eager to support your candidacy. So thank you very much for your testimony today.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a few questions, and then I'll offer an opportunity to colleagues if they want to do a second round as well. I want to just ask, you have a few outside appointments, commitments as well. I know you serve on the tourism board, on the advisory board, the magistrate selection panel. You have a few other outside commitments as well. Have you sought clearance or guidance from the Conflict of Interest Board on those commitments? And can you give us a sense of what they've advised you to date?
Yes, COIB did provide a letter with regard to both things. With respect to the Tourism Board, I serve by appointment from the mayor. I'm one of 5 individuals from the city government that serve on the executive committee to promote the interest of the city as a whole. Separately, the law department works closely with the tourism board to protect New York City's intellectual property, including our city marks. You may recall, particularly after September 11th, there were people in the marketplace counterfeiting our marks, and we, through our efforts, have put a stop to that to make sure that we protect the city's intellectual property. With respect to the magistrate merit selection committee, COIB also furnished a letter approving that. I serve in that position, and it again supports the city interest in making certain that the judges selected to serve as a federal magistrate will be fair when city cases come before them. We are a major litigant in the federal courts.
Thank you. I want to go back to some questions that Councilmember Ressler touched upon, which is recruiting and rebuilding the agency. It's something that came up in the last hearing as well, which is how to recruit the best individuals to come serve for the city and the law department, and of course also rebuilding the ranks to get up to the head count necessary to do the work, and that of course affects us in the city council and affects the taxpayers. Can you talk about a little bit your strategy to be employed or ways you might help recruit people to come work for the little city of New York? There's obviously lots of competition out there for folks who have a law background, a law degree. How do we recruit the best talent to come serve for the city? What are ways that you might employ? What tactics might you employ to help bring those people into the ranks of public service? And how can we rebuild that number from, I think, 765 up to closer to the 900 or 800s of people working in your department?
Certain of the work was wonderfully done by Judge Hines Radix. She made certain that our attorney salaries are now competitive with other public employers. At one point during the pandemic, we lagged behind even our colleagues at the district attorney's offices. So in such a situation, it was difficult to recruit. Judge Hines Radix made certain that that got corrected. Additionally, as with other managerial titles throughout the city, employees of the law department can elect to do some remote work. That is also aided in recruiting and providing a quality of life. Beyond that, there are various other things that we have done. We partner with area law schools to provide clinics where students can come in and see and appreciate what we do. Sometimes people don't apply because they don't know all of the fun that we have at the law department. But once we acquaint them with the types of work that we do and the range of matters that we have, there are people who are drawn to us, and the opportunities we have with the various law schools, and I think we have partnerships with virtually every law school in the area, has provided a pathway, a feeder into the law department. We are also active in various bar associations. We are an accredited CLE provider, and so there are a range of opportunities that we give for people to see us, to see what we do, and to learn more about our work so that they might be tempted to join us.
Well, we hope more than tempted. We hope they actually join you. But do you, right now, do you believe the law department has the budget to fulfill its mission and to recruit talent and also pay them appropriately and also to be staffed at the appropriate head count?
We continue to work with the Office of Management and Budget to supplement areas that we might feel could be strengthened.
It's a very diplomatic answer. I want to talk a little bit about the ability for proactive litigation and the role that you see the law department potentially playing in some proactive defenses here of the city against federal action, but of course any other issues where we might take action. Can you talk a little bit about the role that it's played in your time there and the ways that you might seek out proactive litigation or proactive action to defend New Yorkers and protect the city's interests?
The law department has done a range of proactive litigation. I'll mention a few, and I'll then go into what we might continue to do. We have, dating back to the Bloomberg era, sued gum manufacturers for the epidemic of guns on city streets. More recently, we successfully sued online retailers who made ghost guns that were coming into New York City and without requisite background checks or requiring any type of serial numbers. We have sued social media platforms concerning their contributions to, I would say, the degradation of youth mental health. We were part of a nationwide class action against Juul. We have sued manufacturers and distributors who shipped untaxed cigarettes into New York City. We've done a host of cases to push forward protection of New Yorkers in their physical and mental health. Beyond that, we joined with many municipalities and attorney general offices during the first Trump administration to protect the city of New York, particularly when there was an attack on sanctuary cities. And we anticipate that we will need similar types of efforts to protect the city of New York.
Got it. And can you talk about areas where you might see that as necessary in the coming years?
We absolutely must work with partners across the country. We have pre-existing lines of communication with other cities that have similar interests, and we have already begun those discussions as to how we might work collectively to protect our particular interest. I am a little reluctant to talk about the precise areas where we think we might see attack, because that might give someone an idea, oh, this is what they're really fearful
Understood.
of. I'm going to go there first.
Understood. I'm going to turn to see if any colleagues have any other further questions this time. Okay. Congratulations on your nomination. Thank you for taking time with us today to answer questions and testify. You are dismissed. We're going to go to the public testimony here as well. And Oh, excuse me, just stay there. We have Councilmember Sanchez on Zoom who has a question. Apologies. We'll call on Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, right when you thought you were gonna exhale and leave, but this is just a quick follow-up. Thank you so much for your service to the city of New York over the past 34 years. I join my colleagues in, feeling a breath of an ability to exhale at your nomination, and just having you here today and answering our questions. My question is a follow-up to a few of the questions that the speaker asked earlier regarding, specifically the legislative process when we're moving legislation forward and negotiating legislation. Is there you mentioned in your responses that the law department or the attorneys will not be disclosing if they're advising on behalf of the council or advising on behalf of the mayoralty in a continuous manner throughout a negotiation. Is there a particular way that during your tenure when you have worked on legislation, there has been a way for the council to separately from an ongoing negotiation say to council in the law department, can we have a separate conversation? I have this narrow concern about the legislation before us, and I'd like your perspective separate from any, without you sharing with the administration side. Is that something that has happened before?
Yes, it has, and we are happy to do it. Whenever there is a request, we make certain to provide a response in a confidential manner.
And what is the way that we as members or our staff and central staff go about requesting that kind of feedback and confidentiality? You can reach out to us, or I will add that we work regularly with the Office of General Counsel to the Council, and they are in touch with us on a weekly basis. So just reach out to your General Counsel's office, and they will contact us. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We will now go to the public. So thank you for being here today, and thanks for answering questions. We'll take a second, but we'll call up a panel next of, I think it's Tim Heaton, if that's correct. Sorry if I mispronounced that, and Jacqueline.
Should I wait or?
Just give it 1 second.
Down next year?
She'll be up in a second.
I'd like you to bring me back to work. I've been out of work for 3 years.
So just give her a second to actually properly leave. Thank you guys for being here. We'll start with you. We have 3 minutes on the clock, and you can begin your testimony, and then we'll go to the other gentleman.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jack Wei Lin. I'm a former EMT with the FDNY for over 14 years. I was terminated from my position with the New York City Fire Department due to the COVID-19 vaccine mandate after my religious exemption was denied twice. I'm here to voice my opposition to the appointment of Marielle Good-Trufant as Corporation Counsel and to urge the City Council to support Resolution 5 to reinstate workers like myself who were fired for refusing the vaccine mandate. As an EMT, I dedicated myself to serving the people of New York City during some of their most vulnerable moments. I worked in person during the pandemic when little was known about the virus. Despite my dedicated service, I and many other city workers were fired simply for exercising our right to our sincerely held religious beliefs and bodily autonomy. The appointment of Ms. Good-Trufant as Corporation Counsel is concerning because she has been part of the law department that has actively fought against reinstating workers like myself. Her long tenure in the department suggests that she will continue to defend the city's unjust policies rather than seek to right this wrong. I urge the City Council to reject Ms. Good-Trufant's nomination and support Resolution 5. This resolution would require the reinstatement of city employees dismissed due to the vaccine mandate. It's a common sense measure that recognizes the valuable contributions of dedicated public servants who were wrongfully terminated. The current situation makes no sense. While we remain out of work, city positions stand vacant and new hires are not mandated to take the very same vaccines. How can the city justify keeping experienced workers like myself out of our jobs when there's a clear need for our services? Why the double standard with the DCAS waiver? How can the city continue fighting reinstatement after Dr. Jay Varma was exposed for having drug-fueled orgies while he was pushing the mayor to kick us out of work? Where's the justice? I am not alone in this fight. Hundreds of city workers across various departments, firefighters, EMS, police officers, teachers, and more, lost their livelihoods over this mandate. Many of us are still struggling financially and emotionally from this unjust termination. By supporting Resolution 5 and opposing Ms. Good-Trufant's appointment, you have the opportunity to correct a grave injustice and bring valuable, experienced workers back to serve our city. I implore you to do the right thing and stand up for the rights of dedicated public servants who have been wronged by this mandate. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Good.
My name is Tim Heaton. I was a lieutenant in the FDNY until 3 years ago when I was placed on leave without pay for not getting the COVID vaccine. I was summarily terminated on July 6, 2022, after 22 years of service. That I'm here today, still testifying, trying to return to work is patently absurd. 4.5 years ago, while most of the city and America were shut down and working from home, myself and my FDNY co-workers were out on the streets of New York City going to emergencies of all kinds, from fires to gas leaks to auto accidents, and assisting EMS on calls, many of which were CPR. These close interactions with civilians made it obvious to me that there was no way I had not been exposed to the COVID virus. And therefore, there was no logical reason to get a vaccine, especially when a blood test confirmed I had the COVID antibodies. Now, if you remember back then, the scientists were all saying natural immunity didn't exist or wasn't as good as immunity from the vaccine. They have since retracted that assessment. They also said to wear masks, but last year when Canadian wildfires were causing smoke to fill the air in New York, the scientists said the masks didn't work because the smoke particles were too small to be blocked. I'm pretty sure the virus is even smaller. They also told us to keep 6 feet apart, but have since admitted they just made that up. They told us the vaccine would keep you from getting the COVID and keep you from passing it on to others. We now know that is untrue, to the point that the scientists and politicians are claiming they never said those things, even though we have it on video. With all that being said, can we finally admit that those of us who didn't get the vaccine are not and were not a danger to our fellow citizens, and that after 4 years, we've learned many of the things they claimed as science in 2020 and 2021 have been shown to be false? So I ask, why am I still not returned to the career I had? Why did the mayor lift the mandate but refuse us to be allowed to go back to work? And if the mayor and others did nothing wrong, why do they insist I sign a waiver of my rights before even being considered eligible to return to work? Mayor Adams, when asked about us returning to work, likes to say it's up to the courts. But the courts have spoken numerous times and have ruled that we were wronged and entitled to return to work. It is the mayor and the Corporation Council that continue to defy those judges' orders and appeal those rulings. Last year alone, the city spent $5 million on lawyers to fight us being returned to work. And while $5 million may not be a lot of money in the overall budget, I am positive that money could be better spent on more important items. In fact, returning all of us to work with back pay and back time would have cost a lot less than $5 million, and would have made a lot more sense. The courts across the country are ruling for the workers. In fact, last month in super liberal San Francisco, workers were returned to work and granted damages. It is time, no, it is past time, for the Corporation Council to see the damage they continue to inflict and stop delaying the inevitable and end its blockade of the good employees of this city being allowed to return to the jobs they love and have done for years, in many cases like mine, decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Yep, Councilmember Ariel.
I would just like to say to my colleagues, after the testimony that we've heard today from Mr. Font, as well as these two who are living the nightmare of not being able to get to work, that we understand the importance of supporting Reso 5 that would allow the state then to make the decision for these men and women to get back to work, our first responders who were out there during COVID risking their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us today. Thanks so much. Now call up our next panel. We have Raul Rivera and Christopher Leon Johnson.
Can I go?
Go.
What's up, Cal, Ms. Powers, Mr. Chair Powers? My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I want to, first off, disclose the record. I'm in my personal capacity, so I'm not in my press capacity. Look, let's keep this real, right? This hearing is nothing but bureaucratic red tape, bureaucratic reasons. She's going to be approved by the city council. I don't know why y'all waste y'all time doing this. If the mayor nominated her to be reappointed as the chair, be reappointed as corporation council, is going to go through. We need to keep it real about the people that's fighting against this lady being reappointed. Look, people got to understand that the reason these firefighters can't be reappointed, can't be rehired, because of the past mayor, de Blasio, and that's the reason why. And this mayor just doing whatever de Blasio tell him to do. People need to start really getting at de Blasio a little more, because he's the one that started all of this. Eric is just continuing what the past mayor is doing and the past administration is doing. The reason they don't want to hire these people back is because of the money. It's all about the money. They don't want to get back pay. The only way these guys get their jobs back is if they forfeit the back pay, and that's all it's about. And like I said, this is going to go through. We all know this is going to go through. This is nothing but the bureaucratic reasons that they have to. She had to go through all this stuff like that. We all know she's going to be approved. This is what the mayors want. Look, here's the thing, right? I'm not here to try to stop anybody from getting a job here in the mayor administration, but people need to be transparent about the people that's fighting against this lady, like Teachers for Choice. They're backed by Mark Gorton. Mark Gorton is the same guy that's pushing for the city of Yes. Mark Gorton funds Robert Kennedy, which in turn funds Children's Health Defense, and turn funds Teachers for Choice. So it's just like they need to be more transparent. Like, y'all want to call out Mrs. Muriel for being unethical, but you guys need to start calling out yourselves for being unethical too. Y'all get money from the same guy that's selling out our city with these bike lanes and these bus lanes and these city yes crap and congestion pricing. Won't you guys start coming out and advocate against any of these appointments from the transportation committee that's pushed with city yes and open streets and all this stuff like that? Instead of you calling out for like vaccine mandates. Look, the vaccine mandates are done in the city of New York. They're done. The vaccine mandates are done here. It's done. You can get a job without no vaccine. Look, if you guys want your jobs back, I understand you want your job back, but the reality is, look, you guys got to forfeit your back pay. That's the only reason why they will not rehire you guys, because of the back pay reason. They don't want to pay out millions of dollars in back pay. That's the truth. So that's all you got. That's why I'm gonna say, look, I understand you got your jobs back, but you got to forfeit the back pay.
Thanks,
That's what I gotta
thank
say.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Raul Rivera. I'm a TLC driver and a TLC driver advocate. I'm a native New Yorker. I am unvaccinated, and we haven't written anything down, but advocating for 7 years in this city, fighting for our rights, you do learn a few things, and we learn that we're losing our rights. A lot of the council members are cherry picking on what they support, what they don't support. You should, all of you, there should be no question, all of you should stand on your own 2 feet and support these workers that are losing their jobs. You should listen to when people are testifying and put your phones down. That helps too. I don't know if you're hearing me, but we take the videos and we share this, because I don't think you council members are listening to us. Again, I am unvaccinated. This vaccine mandate was not a law. People hear the word mandate. I don't know why they think that's a law. It's not a law. You, Mr. Powers, you don't even know how to vet your own committee. We have Salamanca on your committee, and his wife received a job from the mayor, a cushy job in the Bronx, and we spoke to you about it. Yeah, all you do is you stay there quiet. You give us that dumb look. You have no.
You can throw him out of the chamber.
You have no right for the New Yorkers. Huh? No respect.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I want to remind everyone of their responsibility to be respectful within the chamber, and when you testify, to be respectful towards members of the public and members of this body as well. Do we have anybody else signed up here to testify? We'll check on Zoom as well. Nobody on Zoom? Okay. Seeing no one else signed up to testify, the public hearing on this nomination is now closed, and that concludes today's business. I want to thank again the nominee and the member of the public, my colleagues on the committee, council and staff, and Sergeant at Arms. The meeting here is thereby adjourned.